For over 600 years, a single empire ruled across the crossroads of civilization. From the sands of Arabia to the gates of Vienna, from the pyramids of Egypt to the bustling markets of Istanbul, one banner flew high, and the world watched in awe. This was the Ottoman Empire, one of the most powerful and enduring empires in human history. Born from a small Turkic tribe in the late 13th century, it rose like a storm. In just over a century, it would crush Byzantium, seize Constantinople, and become the sword of Islam and the nightmare of Europe. Its armies were unmatched, its architecture divine, its politics ruthless. It embraced innovation but also clung to ancient traditions. It built mosques that scraped the skies, courts that rivaled Roman glory, and an imperial system that lasted longer than any modern superpower. But every empire has a price to pay for greatness. Greed, betrayal, stagnation. They would all come. This is not just a tale of battles and borders. It's the story of ambition, of vision, of power, and the slow, inevitable decay of all things human. So sit back and travel through time, across deserts and oceans, through glory and blood, into the heart of the empire that once ruled the world and vanished into dust. In the dusty plains of Anatolia during the late 13th century, a small, relatively unknown Turkic tribe began to grow in power and ambition. This tribe, led by a man named Osman, would one day lend its name to one of the greatest empires in world history, the Ottoman Empire. At the time, Anatolia was a fractured land. The once mighty Seljuk Empire was collapsing under the weight of internal divisions and the devastating Mongol invasions. The region was a patchwork of small principalities, constantly at war, vying for control of territory, trade, and survival. It was in this chaotic landscape that Osman I, the son of Ertuğrul, rose to prominence. Osman was not born into greatness. He inherited a small Beylik principality in the northwest of Anatolia, near the Byzantine border. What set Osman apart was his charisma, military skill, and strategic vision. He united various Turkic tribes under his banner and adopted a policy of relentless expansion, especially at the expense of the crumbling Byzantine territories nearby. But Osman's ambition wasn't just about land. He saw himself as the champion of Islam, destined to carry the sword of faith into the heart of the Christian world. This belief, combined with his military success, attracted warriors, scholars, and administrators from across the Muslim world to his cause. He wasn't just building a kingdom, he was building a vision. By the early 1300s, Osman had expanded his territory significantly. His forces were known for their ferocity, discipline, and mobility, utilizing light cavalry and fast raids that kept enemies off balance. His victories began to alarm both neighboring Beyliks and the Byzantine Empire, which now faced a rising power on its doorstep. It was during his lifetime that the term Ottoman, from Osmanlı in Turkish, first began to be used. Osman's successors would take that name and turn it into a symbol of imperial strength for centuries to come. Osman died in 1326, but not before laying the foundation of an empire that would stretch across 3 continents. His last wish, reportedly, was that his son Orhan take the city of Bursa, a key Byzantine stronghold. Orhan would do just that, and with it, the Ottomans transitioned from a nomadic warrior tribe to a settled imperial power with a capital city and a growing administration. Osman's legacy is not just in the battles he fought, but in the empire he inspired. From humble beginnings in a borderland village, he lit the spark that would ignite one of history's longest-lasting empires. The Byzantine Empire, once the glorious continuation of the Roman Empire, had been in steady decline for centuries by the time the Ottomans emerged on the horizon. Sitting on the crossroads of Europe and Asia, Constantinople was the jewel of the empire, a city of immense wealth, culture, and military importance. But its walls, once impenetrable, were beginning to show cracks. In the late 13th and early 14th centuries, the Byzantine Empire was fragmented and weakened by internal strife, corruption, and constant threats from both Western Europe and emerging powers in Anatolia. It was in this turbulent context that the rising Ottoman Beylik began its calculated expansion into Byzantine territories. Osman I, and later his son Orhan, capitalized on the empire's vulnerability. They mounted raids and sieges, gradually carving out a patchwork of territories around the northwestern edges of Anatolia and into the Balkans. This expansion was more than mere conquest. It was a strategic campaign to isolate and weaken Byzantium. One of the most significant moments came during the Battle of Kosovo in 1389. Although this battle was fought between the Ottomans and a coalition of Balkan forces, it marked a turning point that solidified Ottoman power in the region. The battle resulted in heavy losses on both sides, including the death of Sultan Murad I, but ultimately opened the door for further Ottoman incursions into Europe. Meanwhile, Constantinople's fall seemed inevitable. Surrounded and isolated, its defenders struggled to maintain the city's ancient walls against the advancing Ottoman forces. The Byzantines sought aid from Western Europe, but political and religious divisions often prevented unified support. It wasn't until the reign of Mehmed II, known as Mehmed the Conqueror, that the final blow was dealt. In 1453, after a 53-day siege, Constantinople fell to the Ottomans, marking the end of the Byzantine Empire and the birth of a new imperial era. This conquest was not just a military victory, it was a symbolic and strategic triumph. Mehmed renamed the city Istanbul, transforming it into the capital of the Ottoman Empire and a center of Islamic culture and power. The fall of Byzantium was the start of an empire that would dominate 3 continents and influence the course of world history for centuries to come. Following the conquest of Constantinople, the Ottoman Empire entered a period often regarded as its golden age, a time when the empire not only expanded territorially, but also blossomed culturally, scientifically, and economically. This era is most closely associated with the reign of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, who ruled from 1520 to 1566. Suleiman was a complex figure, a warrior, lawgiver, poet, and patron of the arts. Under his rule, the Ottoman Empire stretched from the gates of Vienna in the west to the shores of the Persian Gulf in the east, and from the deserts of North Africa to the Caucasus Mountains. One of Suleiman's most enduring legacies was his reform of the legal system. Known as the Qanun, these laws complemented Islamic Sharia and helped unify the diverse peoples of the empire under a stable judicial framework. This legal structure fostered order and justice, enabling trade and governance to flourish. Culturally, the empire saw an explosion of artistic achievements. Architecture flourished with masterpieces like the Süleymaniye Mosque in Istanbul, designed by the renowned architect Mimar Sinan. The city itself grew into a vibrant center of literature, music, and philosophy, attracting scholars from around the world. Science and medicine also advanced significantly. Ottoman scholars translated and preserved ancient texts while pioneering their own discoveries. Hospitals in Istanbul were among the most advanced of their time, and medical knowledge was integrated with religious and philosophical teachings. Economically, the empire was a hub of trade connecting Europe, Asia, and Africa. The control of key trade routes allowed the Ottomans to tax goods, control markets, and grow wealthy. Istanbul's bazaars buzzed with merchants selling spices, textiles, and luxury goods from all corners of the known world. Despite this flourishing, the empire was not without challenges. Military campaigns continued to test its borders, and internal tensions between different ethnic and religious groups required constant management. Yet, under Suleiman, the Ottoman Empire reached an unparalleled height of power and cultural sophistication. This golden age left a legacy that shaped not only the Ottoman realm, but also the broader world, influencing art, law, and governance for centuries to come. The Ottoman Empire's rise was not only a story of culture and governance, but also one of formidable military prowess. The empire's military strategies were highly advanced for their time and played a crucial role in expanding and maintaining Ottoman territories, especially in Europe. From its early days, the Ottomans focused on creating a professional and disciplined army. One of the empire's most famous military units was the Janissaries, an elite infantry corps composed mainly of Christian youths taken through the Devshirme system, converted to Islam, and trained as soldiers loyal only to the Sultan. This system ensured the Ottomans had a reliable, well-trained force at their disposal. The Ottomans combined traditional cavalry tactics with innovative use of gunpowder weapons, including cannons and muskets. They were among the first armies in the region to effectively incorporate artillery into siege warfare, which was critical during their campaigns to capture fortified cities. One of the empire's key military strategies was the use of strategic sieges to break down enemy fortifications. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 is the most famous example, where massive cannons bombarded the city's walls relentlessly. The Ottomans also used psychological warfare, such as demonstrating overwhelming force to compel cities to surrender without a fight. Throughout the 15th and 16th centuries, the Ottomans expanded deeper into Europe. Their armies conquered vast territories in the Balkans, including Serbia, Bulgaria, and Hungary. The Battle of Mohacs in 1526 was a decisive victory against the Kingdom of Hungary, opening the door for Ottoman influence in Central Europe. Despite their success, the Ottomans faced fierce resistance from European powers. The Habsburg monarchy, Poland, and the Venetian Republic were among the main opponents who sought to check Ottoman expansion. The Siege of Vienna in 1529 and again in 1683 represented critical moments when the Ottomans attempted to push further into Europe, but were ultimately repelled. The empire's military strength was supported by an effective logistical system that allowed them to mobilize large armies quickly and sustain long campaigns. They built roads, supply depots, and used waterways for efficient movement of troops and supplies. However, maintaining such a vast military presence required a robust economy and strong political control, which the Ottoman rulers skillfully managed for centuries. The Ottoman Empire's military strategies and campaigns not only shaped the political map of Europe, but also influenced military tactics and organization in the broader region for generations. After centuries of expansion and dominance, the Ottoman Empire began to experience a slow and complex decline from the late 17th century onwards. This decline was due to a combination of internal challenges and external pressures that tested the resilience of the once mighty empire. One of the key factors contributing to the decline was military stagnation. While the Ottomans were once pioneers in gunpowder warfare, by the 18th century, European powers had advanced their military technology and tactics significantly. The Ottoman army struggled to keep pace, and defeats in battles such as the Siege of Vienna, 1683, marked the beginning of territorial losses. Internally, the empire faced political corruption and administrative inefficiency. The complex system of governance, which had once allowed diverse peoples to coexist under Ottoman rule, became rigid and outdated. The Janissary Corps, once an elite fighting force, became politically powerful but militarily ineffective, often resisting reform. Economic difficulties also mounted. The empire's control over key trade routes diminished as European powers found new maritime routes to Asia around Africa, bypassing Ottoman-controlled land paths. Inflation, poor tax collection, and competition from European manufactured goods further weakened the economy. Recognizing the need for change, Ottoman sultans and reformers launched a series of modernization efforts known as the Tanzimat reforms in the mid-19th century. These reforms aimed to centralize and modernize the administration, legal system, and military, inspired by European models. The Tanzimat era saw the introduction of new laws guaranteeing equality before the law, attempts to secularize the state, and efforts to modernize infrastructure, education, and the economy. Railroads, telegraph lines, and schools were built, signaling a push toward modernization. However, these reforms faced resistance from conservative factions and nationalist movements within the empire's diverse populations. Ethnic and religious tensions grew as various groups sought independence or autonomy. The empire's weakening position also attracted the attention of rival powers such as Russia, Austria-Hungary, and Britain, leading to a series of conflicts and territorial losses known as the Eastern Question. Despite efforts to modernize, the Ottoman Empire continued to decline politically and territorially into the early 20th century, eventually dissolving after World War I and giving way to the modern Republic of Turkey. The Ottoman Empire left a profound and lasting impact on the regions it ruled, shaping the culture, architecture, language, and social systems of a vast area spanning Southeast Europe, Western Asia, and North Africa. Culturally, the Ottomans were known for their rich contributions to art, literature, and music. The empire became a melting pot where various ethnic and religious groups interacted, creating a unique cultural blend. Ottoman architecture, influenced by Byzantine, Persian, and Islamic traditions, produced iconic structures such as the Blue Mosque and Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, which still stand as symbols of the empire's grandeur. Language played a significant role in uniting the empire. Ottoman Turkish, a complex language blending Turkish, Arabic, and Persian elements, was the administrative and literary language of the state. It allowed for communication across diverse populations while reflecting the empire's multicultural nature. Religious tolerance was another important aspect of Ottoman governance. Although Islam was the state religion, the empire allowed considerable autonomy to Christian and Jewish communities through the millet system, enabling these groups to govern their own affairs in matters like education and religion. Socially, the empire's legal and administrative systems influenced later governance models in the region. The Ottoman legal code, including elements of Sharia law and sultanic decrees, was advanced for its time and helped maintain order over a vast and diverse population. Economically, the empire controlled key trade routes linking east and west, facilitating the flow of goods, ideas, and technologies. This helped cities like Istanbul become major economic and cultural hubs. The Ottoman legacy is also evident in modern nation-states that once formed part of the empire. Many of their borders, cultural traditions, and social structures can trace origins to the Ottoman period. The empire's history continues to influence regional politics and identities. Despite its decline and eventual dissolution, the Ottoman Empire's cultural, social, and political contributions remain a significant chapter in world history. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 marked one of the most significant turning points in world history. It not only signaled the end of the Byzantine Empire, but also heralded the rise of the Ottoman Empire as a dominant power in both Europe and Asia. Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, was strategically located at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, controlling vital trade routes between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. Its massive walls had withstood countless sieges for centuries, symbolizing the strength and endurance of the Byzantine state. The Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II, known as Mehmed the Conqueror, was determined to capture the city and expand Ottoman territory. Utilizing advanced military technology, including large cannons capable of breaching walls, the Ottomans laid siege to Constantinople for nearly 2 months. The defenders, despite their valiant resistance, were vastly outnumbered and outgunned. The city finally fell on May 29, 1453, after a fierce and relentless assault. This victory was not only a military triumph, but also a profound psychological blow to Christian Europe. The capture of Constantinople allowed the Ottomans to control key trade routes and became the new capital, renamed Istanbul. It also marked the end of the medieval period and the beginning of the Renaissance, as many Greek scholars fled westward, carrying ancient manuscripts and knowledge to Italy and beyond. This migration of knowledge helped fuel the Renaissance and the Age of Exploration, profoundly influencing European culture, science, and politics. Furthermore, the fall of Constantinople prompted European powers to seek alternative trade routes to Asia, eventually leading to voyages by explorers like Vasco da Gama and Christopher Columbus. The event also intensified the religious divide between Christianity and Islam, shaping centuries of conflict and interaction between the Ottoman Empire and European states. Overall, the fall of Constantinople reshaped global trade, culture, and power dynamics, leaving a lasting legacy on world history. One of the most distinctive features of the Ottoman Empire was the Janissary Corps, an elite military unit that played a crucial role in both warfare and politics for centuries. The Janissaries were established in the late 14th century as the Sultan's personal infantry troops. Unlike typical medieval armies composed of feudal lords and mercenaries, the Janissaries were formed through a unique system called the Devshirme. This system involved the periodic conscription of Christian boys from conquered territories who were taken to the Ottoman capital, converted to Islam, and rigorously trained as soldiers. This practice was controversial but effective. It allowed the Sultan to create a loyal and professional standing army that was directly under his control, rather than relying on feudal lords or tribal forces. The Janissaries quickly became known for their discipline, advanced weaponry skills, and battlefield effectiveness. Beyond their military duties, the Janissaries also held significant political power. Over time, they gained influence in the Ottoman court, often involving themselves in palace intrigues and even deposing sultans who displeased them. Their privileges expanded including tax exemptions and the ability to engage in trade and politics, which made them a powerful social class. However, this also led to corruption and resistance to reform. By the 17th and 18th centuries, the Janissaries had become less effective militarily and more entrenched politically. Their opposition to modernization efforts and military reforms contributed to the empire's stagnation. The eventual abolition of the Janissary Corps in 1826, known as the Auspicious Incident, was a violent and decisive moment in Ottoman history. Sultan Mahmud II forcibly disbanded the corps, using the army to suppress a Janissary revolt, thereby paving the way for modern military reforms. The Janissaries remain a symbol of the Ottoman military might and the complexities of balancing military power and political authority in an empire. The Silk Road, an ancient network of trade routes connecting east and west, played a vital role in the economy and cultural exchange during the Ottoman Empire's reign. Although the Silk Road had existed for centuries before the Ottomans, their control over key sections of this trade network significantly enhanced its importance and impact. The empire's strategic position, bridging Europe and Asia, allowed it to dominate the flow of goods, ideas, and culture across continents. Under Ottoman rule, cities like Istanbul, Bursa, and Edirne became major hubs where merchants, travelers, and diplomats from various regions converged. The Ottomans improved infrastructure, including caravanserais, roadside inns that provided shelter and supplies to traders, which facilitated safer and more efficient trade. The empire controlled vital segments of the overland routes that transported silk, spices, precious metals, textiles, and other valuable commodities. This control gave the Ottomans significant economic power and leverage in international trade. Beyond commerce, the Silk Road under the Ottomans facilitated cultural and intellectual exchange. Ideas in science, technology, religion, and art traveled along these routes, enriching the empire's diverse population and influencing neighboring regions. However, the rise of sea routes around the Cape of Good Hope in the 15th and 16th centuries gradually diminished the Silk Road's prominence. European powers sought direct maritime access to Asian goods, bypassing Ottoman-controlled land routes. Despite this shift, the Silk Road's legacy under Ottoman rule remains significant. It contributed to the empire's wealth, cosmopolitan character, and role as a cultural crossroads. The Silk Road exemplifies how trade routes can shape empires, foster cross-cultural connections, and impact global history. The Ottoman Empire, once a powerful and expansive realm, began a slow decline starting in the late 17th century. Understanding the causes and consequences of this decline reveals much about the challenges faced by large empires in adapting to a changing world. One primary cause of the Ottoman decline was military stagnation. While the empire had once pioneered military innovations, over time the Ottoman forces became outdated compared to European armies. The Janissaries, once elite soldiers, resisted modernization and reforms, weakening the empire's military effectiveness. Economic difficulties also played a crucial role. The discovery of sea routes to Asia, bypassing Ottoman land routes, reduced the empire's control over global trade. Inflation, corruption, and poor fiscal management further strained the economy. Political instability and administrative inefficiency undermined the empire's governance. Weak sultans, court intrigues, and corruption eroded central authority. Regional governors often acted independently, challenging the unity of the state. Social tensions arose from the empire's diverse population and the pressures of modernization. Various ethnic and religious groups sought greater autonomy, leading to internal conflicts. The consequences of the decline were profound. The empire gradually lost territory through wars and uprisings, shrinking from a vast transcontinental empire to a smaller state centered around modern Turkey. This decline also set the stage for nationalist movements and European imperial ambitions in the Balkans, Middle East, and North Africa, reshaping regional politics. Despite its decline, the Ottoman legacy endures in culture, architecture, law, and the modern states that emerged from its territories. The Ottoman Empire was not only a political and military power, but also a remarkable center of cultural development. Its long history produced rich contributions in art, architecture, literature, music, and science, reflecting a blend of diverse traditions. One of the most visible legacies of Ottoman culture is its architecture. The empire's mosques, palaces, and public buildings showcased grand designs combining Islamic, Byzantine, and Persian influences. The works of architect Mimar Sinan stand out, with masterpieces like the Süleymaniye Mosque in Istanbul, which remain iconic examples of Ottoman architectural excellence. Ottoman art included intricate tile work, calligraphy, miniature painting, and textiles. Calligraphy was especially esteemed as a form of artistic expression, often featuring verses from the Quran and elaborate decorative motifs. Literature flourished, with poets and writers composing works in Ottoman Turkish, Persian, and Arabic. The empire's diverse population fostered a literary culture rich in storytelling, epic poems, and philosophical treatises. Music in the Ottoman Empire blended various regional styles, incorporating traditional Turkish instruments alongside influences from the Arab world, the Balkans, and Central Asia. Court music, religious chants, and folk songs all contributed to a vibrant musical heritage. Science and medicine also advanced under Ottoman patronage. Scholars translated and preserved works from ancient Greek, Persian, and Arabic sources, and contributed original research in fields such as astronomy, chemistry, and pharmacology. This cultural diversity and flourishing made the Ottoman Empire a crossroads of civilizations, where East met West in dynamic interaction. Though the empire eventually declined politically and militarily, its cultural achievements continue to inspire and influence the modern world. Religion played a central role in shaping the Ottoman Empire's identity, governance, and social structure. Islam was the official religion, deeply influencing law, culture, and daily life. Yet the empire also managed a diverse population of different faiths with relative tolerance. The Ottoman rulers were Sunni Muslims, and the Sultan held the title of Caliph, regarded as the leader of the Islamic world. This religious authority gave the empire legitimacy both domestically and internationally. The empire's legal system was based on Sharia law derived from Islamic principles, combined with customary laws, Qanun, issued by the Sultan. This hybrid legal framework allowed for governance that balanced religious and political needs. While Islam was dominant, the empire was home to many Christian and Jewish communities. These groups were organized into millets, autonomous religious communities with their own legal and educational institutions. This millet system allowed religious minorities to maintain their traditions and resolve internal affairs independently. Religious leaders held important roles in society, influencing education, law, and charity. Mosques served not only as places of worship, but also as centers for learning and social welfare. Religion also influenced the arts, architecture, and cultural practices, with Islamic motifs and values integrated into everyday life. The Ottoman approach to religious diversity was pragmatic, aiming to maintain social order and imperial unity despite differences. However, tensions sometimes arose, especially when nationalist movements challenged the millet system's arrangements. Overall, religion in the Ottoman Empire was a unifying yet complex force that shaped its political power, cultural richness, and societal harmony. The relationship between the Ottoman Empire and European powers was complex, marked by centuries of conflict, diplomacy, and shifting alliances. From the height of Ottoman expansion in the 16th century to its eventual decline, interactions with European states shaped the empire's fate. During the 16th and 17th centuries, the Ottoman Empire was a dominant force in Eastern Europe and the Mediterranean. It engaged in numerous wars with the Habsburg Empire, Poland, Lithuania, Venice, and Russia. Battles such as the Siege of Vienna in 1529 and 1683 symbolized the struggle for control of Central Europe. Trade was another crucial aspect of Ottoman-European relations. The empire controlled key land routes connecting Asia and Europe, but the rise of Atlantic maritime powers like Spain, Portugal, and later England and the Netherlands gradually shifted global trade patterns away from Ottoman control. Diplomacy played a vital role. The Ottomans maintained embassies and signed treaties with European powers, sometimes allying with one against another to balance power. For example, they allied with France against the Habsburgs. The 18th and 19th centuries brought growing European interference and imperial ambitions, leading to the gradual loss of Ottoman territories. The Crimean War, 1853 to 1856, involving Russia against an alliance including the Ottoman Empire, Britain, and France, reflected these shifting dynamics. the rise of nationalist movements within the Balkans, inspired by European ideas of self-determination, further challenged Ottoman rule. Ultimately, the complex relationship with European powers contributed to the transformation and eventual dissolution of the Ottoman Empire after World War I. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 was a watershed moment in world history. Marking the end of the Byzantine Empire, it also established the Ottoman Empire as a dominant power bridging Europe and Asia. The conquest reshaped political, economic, and cultural landscapes. Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, was strategically located on the Bosporus Strait, controlling key trade routes between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. Its formidable walls had withstood many sieges over centuries, making it one of the most fortified cities in the medieval world. The Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II, known as Mehmed the Conqueror, led a massive military campaign to capture the city. Utilizing advanced artillery, including large cannons and strategic planning, the Ottomans breached the city walls after a 53-day siege. The fall had immediate consequences. The Byzantine Empire ceased to exist, and Constantinople was renamed Istanbul, becoming the new Ottoman capital. This shift symbolized the rise of Ottoman power and a new era in regional history. Economically, the capture allowed the Ottomans to control crucial trade routes, but it also disrupted European access to Eastern goods. This disruption partly motivated European exploration efforts to find new sea routes, eventually leading to the Age of Discovery. Culturally, Constantinople became a vibrant imperial city, blending Byzantine heritage with Islamic and Ottoman traditions. Many Byzantine scholars fled to Western Europe, helping to spark the Renaissance. The fall of Constantinople is remembered as both a tragic end to an empire and a beginning of a new geopolitical order that shaped the modern world. The Ottoman Empire, which lasted over 6 centuries, left a profound legacy that continues to influence modern politics, culture, and society. Its complex history offers lessons on governance, cultural integration, and the challenges of managing diverse populations. One of the most significant Ottoman legacies is its multicultural and multi-religious governance model. The millet system allowed various religious communities to coexist with a degree of autonomy, a precursor to modern ideas of minority rights and pluralism. Architecturally, the empire contributed iconic landmarks like the Hagia Sophia, Topkapi Palace, and countless mosques that blend Byzantine, Islamic, and Ottoman styles. These structures remain symbols of a rich cultural heritage, attracting millions of visitors worldwide. The Ottoman legal system, combining Sharia and customary law, influenced later legal developments in the Middle East and the Balkans. Its administrative practices shaped modern bureaucratic institutions in successor states. Linguistically, the Ottoman Turkish language incorporated Arabic, Persian, and Turkish elements, reflecting cultural synthesis, but also creating complexities later simplified in the Republic of Turkey. Politically, the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire after World War I led to the creation of new nation-states in the Middle East and Southeast Europe. The legacy of Ottoman borders and ethnic compositions still impacts regional conflicts and diplomacy. Culturally, Ottoman cuisine, music, and art continue to thrive, bridging traditions across continents. Understanding the Ottoman Empire's history helps contextualize modern geopolitical dynamics, cultural identities, and social challenges in regions once under its rule. The empire's legacy is a reminder of the enduring influence of empires in shaping our world's past and present. You're welcome. Here's your closing segment, polished and ready to be used as a compelling outro for your video. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey through the history of the Ottoman Empire. From its humble beginnings to its rise as one of the most powerful empires in world history, the story of the Ottomans is one of ambition, resilience, cultural fusion, and the enduring challenges of leadership and diversity. Understanding the rise and fall of the Ottoman Empire gives us deeper insight into the forces that shaped the modern Middle East, Southeast Europe, and beyond. Its legacy lives on in architecture, governance, language, and everyday culture, reminding us that history is not just the past, but the foundation of the present. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into world history. Got thoughts or questions? Drop them in the comments. We love hearing from curious minds like yours. History is more than dates and facts. It's the story of us all. Stay curious, keep exploring, and we'll see you in the next video. Let me know if you'd like a version more tailored to a specific tone, e.g., dramatic, casual, educational, or cinematic.